See how you're doing today, physically, emotionally, in your mind state, and in your spiritual state. As if you were your own best friend, checking in and saying, how are you today? With real curiosity and a real sense of caring. And that can be enough, just that, just to say, how am I today? What's happening? With no preconceived and no right answer there, just whatever's true for you today. Maybe a hard day, maybe a beautiful day, might be just another day, or seem like just another day. And as you do that check-in, as always, you're invited to see if you can identify a blessing for yourself you'd like to offer, an intention for practice. See if you can identify a quality that your soul needs today. For myself, I'll say, may I be blessed with forgiveness of self and others, generosity of spirit. And if you'd like to put your intention or your blessing for yourself in the chat, it's always inspiring and beautiful to read these. Or if you'd like to, 112 degrees in Tampa Bay. Oh boy. All right. So wherever we are, whatever our environment, let's settle in, receive a few breaths, and just allow the vibrations of our days to subside a little bit. And in the couple of minutes before we begin, it's our practice to create a mishaberach, a blessing for healing for all who are in need, including any of you who are here so far. So feel free to add the name or names of those you're thinking of and holding in your heart who are in need of healing. And really stay with them for a moment. Not in a perfunctory way, but really a moment of offering from the deepest place within us our wishes, our hopes, our desires, our prayers for refuah shlema, for complete healing, for safety, for comfort, for hope, for all those in need of healing. If this applies to you, may you be blessed with refuah shlema. May they and all who are in need of healing be blessed with refuah shlema, with a complete and full healing. And finally, just before you begin, if you're arriving now, again, just inviting everyone to receive a few breaths, settle into your place, give yourself a pat on the back for showing up today. Quite remarkable and quite countercultural to stop in the midst of your day, wherever you are in your day, to pause and just to be together with a few hundred other human beings. And friends, let's begin. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Mark Margolius from the Institute for Jewish Spirituality. Welcome to our daily Jewish mindfulness meditation practice. The Institute for Jewish Spirituality is very happy to make these practices available on a free and drop-in basis, Monday through Fridays. And on Mondays, we offer as well our Jewish yoga studio, led by the wonderful Cantor Lizzie Shamash, the meditation sessions each day, of course, led by a variety of wonderful leading Jewish meditation teachers. And all of this is made possible by your presence, because you show up. And so we thank you for that, first and foremost, just being here. And we hope you'll thank yourself for showing up. Give yourself a virtual pat on the back for showing up for your practice today. Goes without saying, we can't do it as well without your financial support, which is indicative of your support for offerings like this. So thanks in advance as well for considering a donation to support our work and these practices. If you're in a position to offer a gift of $180 or more, you can sponsor one of these daily meditations. And if you're in a position to do so, thanks for considering that. All the sessions are, of course, we meet live on Zoom, and they're live streamed on our YouTube channel, to which we hope you will subscribe. And all the recordings of every session are posted there as well. So there's an immense library of teachings and practices and meditations on our YouTube channel, and we hope you'll avail yourself of those when it's not possible to join us live. So in short, thanks for being here. Thanks to Jordan Pollock, who's holding our text space today. One announcement before we turn things over to our teacher for today, and that is registration is still open for our free program for the month of Elul, actually starting next week, this coming week, the last week in the month of Av. What we call the Shofar Project, getting real for the new year. It's an opportunity to prepare inwardly for Rosh Hashanah and the new Jewish year, 5784, coming up in about 6 weeks, less than 6 weeks. To begin that work early with practice that's grounded in the teachings of Rabbi Alan Liu's wonderful book, This is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared. And it features live weekly teachings by the IGS faculty, a live practice session led by the same faculty member who writes the piece for each week, as well as Chavruta study, partner practice, and an opportunity to engage in ongoing discussion in a Google group. So we hope you'll join us for that. There's also a special edition of that program called Getting Real for the New Year for folks in their 20s and 30s, led by Rebecca Schisler and Kohenet Kashir Hala Fife. So if that applies to you, we hope you'll join that group, and we hope you'll spread the word about both offerings in your circles. Thanks for doing so. So today I'm really very, very excited, delighted to welcome a new teacher to our amazing roster of Jewish meditation teachers, Roland Brandman, who is chair of Hamakom, which is a Jewish Mindfulness Center in Great Britain, and author of Sapphire Mind, Liberation in Jewish Meditation, an amazing book for those who are interested in going deeper into Jewish meditation. Hamakom is, we'll consider Hamakom a sibling organization. Many of the folks who teach for Hamakom have taught here on the Daily Sit, and I really have been looking forward to this opportunity for us to learn from and practice with Roland for quite a while. So Roland, thank you so much for making time to lead us in practice today. I'm going to turn it over to you. Oops, gotta unmute. There we go. Jordan, if we can make, if Roland is not a co-host, can we do that?
There you go.
There we go. All right, off we go.
Well, thank you, Rabbi Mark, and thank you to IGS, and thank you to you all for showing up. I have a meditation to share, which I will share in a moment, and we'll practice, and that will be lovely. No particular reason I've selected other than its sort of authenticity from a traditional source is sort of beyond doubt. And that's one of the things I was really interested in, because when I came to Jewish meditation, I always felt, I'd explored Buddhism and the Vedanta and, these beautiful texts. And sometimes I found, Judaism, well, where do I find this beauty, And but part of the result is the book, because over the years I collected from about 200 books, I think, the most beautiful quotations for a meditator. And I put them together in one place. And so it's this vast anthology of traditional quotations, but also it presents a kind of philosophy for Jewish meditators, to rival the philosophies I found in, Buddhism and the Vedanta. And as a result, it's quite large. It's, 600, 700 pages, but it saves on reading 200 books, and that's quite useful. It's a wonderful thing that it does sort of contain this authenticity of Jewish wisdom and meditation all in one place. So that it's very interesting. Like when I started reading Jewish meditative mystical texts, it was like occasionally I'd read something and I'd say, oh, that's interesting. Kind of there's that Buddhist idea, or there's that Vedanta idea. And now what's really interesting is, having written this book and having read it, because it's got so much in it, is that, now I don't read a Buddhist book that often anymore, but when I do, it's really interesting. I'll read a traditional Buddhist text. I'll say, oh, there's that Jewish idea. So that's very interesting. And it's just, it's an amazing thing that some people have written to me who have read the book and sort of said, oh, it reads like a wonderful Buddhist text, but it's just so authentic. There's no mention of Buddhism in the book, and it's all just traditional sources. So that was what I was very interested in. And it seeks this philosophy of, puts down this philosophy of, for a Jewish meditator, and it covers compassion, reality, consciousness, suffering, forgiveness, all these wonderful, karma yoga, all these wonderful topics that we love from so many traditions, in an authentic manner. But it roots them all this philosophy in this experience of meditation, and it goes through different levels of consciousness, meditative consciousness, which also represent relationships to reality, and they are all somehow mapped onto different aspects of sapphire as a metaphor in Rebbe Nachman and the Mishnah and others. And it's just wonderful, I've found, to be involved in this field and be able really to now think of myself as sort of authentically a Jewish meditator, and be in that while still having an open mind. And with that in mind, I wanted to share this meditation with you, because, as I say, it's very authentic within its tradition. It comes from a great Kabbalist, Elazar Zikri, famous sort of late medieval Kabbalist. But the technique has, echoes of what many of you might have experienced in other traditions as well as in the Jewish path. So, without further ado, I would like to share with you this meditation. So, I assume most people here are experienced practitioners. So if you just find your usual relaxed position, which you would like to sit in. If your camera is off, feel free to turn it off or keep it on. I would recommend closing your eyes on this one because it involves visualization, even if your usual practice is with eyes open. So sit with both feet on the floor, usual position, back, straight, relaxed, hands in the lap maybe. And take a deep breath in and deep breath out. And in and out. One more, in, and let out all the tension on the out. Now find where your body feels most tense. Focus on the most tense bit of your body. Put your attention there. And on the out breath, this time, ask that bit of the body to relax. Breathe in and relax that bit of the body again. Breathe in, and now tell the whole of the body to relax on the out breath. And now I want you to visualize a light above your head, a protective blue azure shining light just above the crown of your head. Imagine it glowing, radiant, warm, like you're on a beautiful beach in Mediterranean, California, on a summer's sunset. And this light, warm, glowing, kisses the crown of your head. The light can keep you safe right now from stress, tension, worries, and other problems. You can leave them behind now. Picture this warm light now coming down over your forehead. Warm and comforting. The blue light now extends down to the back of your head. Warm, comforting. Nose, over the lips, over the chin. Feel the warmth across the face. And now bring the warm sapphire light down so that it surrounds your entire head. The neck. Feel how calm and secure you feel as the protective blue light surrounds you. Now bring the light down over your shoulders. Feel how warm your shoulders are. Your chest. Now it comes down to your stomach. Warm, comforting, relaxing. Now bring the light down around your waist, pelvis, the thighs, the knees, the lower legs, the feet, the tips of the toes. Now imagine your whole body being surrounded by this protective blue light, head to foot, foot to head, warm, comforting, relaxing. Put your attention now again on your feet. Let all the tension disperse into the light. Feeling how relaxed, tingly your feet feel in the warmth of the blue light. Your feet are surrounded by the light. And now the light doubles in thickness, becomes more dense, more warm, more golden, more cozy. Feel the second wave of light now come from the tips of your toes, around your feet to your ankles. The lower legs. Feel your legs relaxing, surrounded by light, soft, heavy, relaxed. Now your knees and your upper legs are surrounded by the second wave of light. Warm, at ease. Allow this light to support you. Give your legs the much needed rest from the daily task. Now turn your attention to your hands. The double wave of light comes over your hands. Feel the tension disperse into the warm light. Your hands are relaxed, limp, heavy. The wave of blue light comes over your wrists, your arms, all surrounded and protected, shielded by protective light. Now the double wave of light comes over your pelvis, your waist, the stomach, the chest, shoulders, neck, chin, mouth, nose, eyes, back of the head, the crown of the head. Feel your whole head relaxing. The protective light glows warmly over the face. Feel the whole body relaxing, bathed in the warm azure light. You are surrounded from head to toe in light, shielded from the exterior, the worries. There might be some more areas of tension, some worries maybe remaining in your mind, some voices. You might even be able to picture these areas as some areas of darkness, less light. So we're now going to breathe in this beautiful light that's surrounding us and let it fill us. And then with the out breath, we're going to breathe out any last dark tension. Breathe it out into the light. Now, breathe in the light. Big breath. Flood the light within. And breathe out any tension, any darkness. Again, breathe in the light. And breathe out the darkness and the light. Breathe in the light. Breathe out the light. And again, feel the light flowing within the body from the center, permeating your skin. Breathe in the light. Breathe out the light within. Calm, peaceful, relaxed, safe. And now I'm going to keep quiet and I'm just going to let you enjoy breathing in that beautiful blue light and breathing it out again. The blue light of the sky, the sea, all within. Just keep breathing it in and breathing it out, and we'll come together again in a few minutes. Breathe in the blue light of the heavens and breathe it out. Surround yourself with it, inside as well as outside. Breathe in and out. And we continue. Breathe in the light. Breathe out the light. And you can imagine this light anytime you need to disperse and soften tension. Now focus again on your breathing. Big breath in and out. Now feel your feet. Give your toes a little wiggle. They should be very warm from being bathed in light. Enjoy that feeling of the toes wiggling. Wiggle your fingers a little. Enjoy them. They're warm as well. Now you can gently come back to the room. Open your eyes. Take a stretch. And now, fully awake, energized, and calm. So thank you. I'm delighted to have shared that. It's interesting about the blue lights because when I started meditating, and it still sometimes happens now, if I come out of a very deep meditation, it's like the whole world is kind of one color and it's kind of blue. And some people used to say, oh, that's just you, Roland. But actually, I don't think it is, because there are some voices on our tradition that say meditative consciousness is blue. And I'm also reminded there's a lovely line in Daniel, very famous, which says, the enlightened will shine like the radiance of the sky. I'm setting the bar quite high, but I think it's a beautiful poetic note to end on. So thank you very much for your time. I wish you all very well. And I think I hand back to Rabbi Mark.
Right. Thank you so much, Roland. Beautiful. Looking very much forward to some conversation with you about the beautiful meditation and practice in a moment. But first we seal the practice as we do each day, offering those of you who are in mourning or observing a yard site, or if it's your custom to participate in the Kaddish, to do so. And if you're not, please stay present for those who are, offering your support and compassionate presence. If you're reciting Kaddish, I invite you to put the name or names of those you're honoring today in the chat box now or after you recite it, and to join me by rising in body or in spirit to recite the words together. And you can unmute at this time. Yit Gadal, Kadash, Merabat,
Ma Devrach V'Tev Yomlech Machoteh Chayefon V'Yomchon B'Ifraim V'Beit Israel Ba'agala V'Smakari Amen Shmei Rabba V'Rach V'Elam
Amen.
Amen. And thanks for joining us today on this Wednesday for this beautiful practice led by Roland Brandman, chair of Hamakom Jewish Mindfulness Center in the UK. And so delighted to have you today, Roland. As always, everyone's invited to stay on for some conversation with our teacher for a few minutes, or if you'd like to just use this time to stay with that practice and let yourself sit with that blue light, you're welcome to use this time, and you can just turn the volume off and use this community as a container to continue your practice. And if you're leaving us now, I hope you'll join us tomorrow. We'll be led in practice tomorrow by Rabbi Andrea Goldstein of the Jewish Mindfulness Center of St. Louis, and Rabbi at Sheramet congregation in St. Louis, wonderful Jewish mindfulness meditation teacher, and delighted that Rebecca Shista will be back to lead us to sit into Shabbat together on Friday. So if you're leaving us now, we hope you'll join us either or both of those days or sometime soon. Thanks to Jordan Pollock for holding our tech space today. Thanks to our teacher, Roland Brandman. And if you're staying on, if you'd like to put a question to Roland about the teaching, putting a little link to the bio, by the way, for those interested in Roland's bio, that's taken from the Hamakom website. And maybe we can put the link as well to Roland's book, Sapphire Mind. Anyway, if you have a question, please put it in the chat. We'll preface it by writing question in all caps. Keep an eye on the questions. So if you just want to share reflections on your experience, that's great. Well, okay. So Roland, that was really I was quite immersed in that. So I want to go back to your introduction of it because I'm not sure if I was clear on that. So I want to hear a little bit more about the source of that meditation. And also I understood you and I never really had a conversation, but I'm interested in your journey to this place. It sounds like you came to it via the Eastern traditions. And so interested in that, and then I see there are questions about colors and light, etc. So we'll get to that.
Sure. Well, a bit about myself. So I was quite a sort of brought up Reform, sort of 3-day-a-year Jew. I became quite sort of from sort of Orthodox, perhaps a little more than Orthodox in my teens. I then went to but didn't really have a connection with spirituality, even though I think I needed it. I went to Oxford University, studied philosophy there, and kind of fell away from religion completely, became a kind of very sort of strongly held atheist. And then after university, kind of going through a slightly bad time, and a friend of my mum's introduced me to meditation, which was in the TM Vedanta tradition. and doing mantra there, particularly because there was a big element of philosophy. It sort of suited me very well. Partly then for convenience, I got into Buddhism in quite a big way. Really started studying it quite heavily, practicing heavily. And I really just had no idea that there was meditation in Judaism. I happened to go to a Limud conference, which is a kind of Jewish cultural conference. I think it does exist in America as well. Started in the UK. And I met a community of Jewish meditators, and things were just sort of getting going in the UK, because in the UK things tend to be 20 years behind the US. And I started reading quite heavily into Jewish mystical texts. The first Jewish meditation retreat in the UK happens a couple of years later, and I became, along with some others, a strong presence in the Jewish meditation community, and have been heavily involved in getting the structures going. Hamakom is one organization. There are a couple of others in the UK, and one way or another, it seems to be involved in a bit with everything. And the book arose because for some reason, as I went along reading all these books, Jewish books, I actually noted all the quotes, and I think I wrote them down as I went. And there's no reason I did this. I don't understand why I did it, but I did it. And then at some point, my rabbi said, well, you must turn them into a book, because there's no comprehensive anthology of traditional texts for Jewish meditators out there. You can find anthologies, but they're not as comprehensive as this, at least according to some of the reviews. And it's just very interesting that I've now got to a point in the journey where, I've got eyes wide open, and, Buddhist texts, they're beautiful. I learn a lot from other traditions, but actually, I'm not apologetic anymore. There's a sense of, in Judaism, sometimes apologetic. Oh, maybe we're not quite as good as Buddhism. We're trying to keep up. We're trying to do the mindfulness thing, but we don't really do mindfulness. But actually, when you know enough text, you read enough, kind of actually, you can really stay within this tradition. And, we Jews can make their own contribution to world meditation in the same way Buddhists and everyone else make their beautiful contributions.
What about this particular meditation? Would you say?
So this one, as I said, so you can look it up. It's in Sefer Haredim. I can read you. So basically, there's this very, very famous bit of the Talmud, which probably everyone here would have heard of. The bit that says in the Talmud that the Hasidim Rishonim, that's the early pietists of antiquity, would pause for an hour before praying, and they would stop. And it's not stated there exactly what this was, but it's pretty clear from later texts that it was meditation of some kind. But Elazar Zikri in this source says that 9 hours they would desist and be engaged in meditation and devekus, connecting to the divine. And he says this, I'll quote directly. He says, quote, "They would imagine the light of the divine presence upon their heads as if it was spread out all around them, and they were sitting inside the light." So obviously the breathing in and the breathing out I've embellished and added, but it's clearly a genuine, authentic source from one of the great masters of the Jewish mystical tradition.
I was also wondering about, I think it's at the end of Parsha Yitro, when Moses comes down from the mountain, and there's kind of this sacred picnic that takes place.
Yes.
And the translations vary, but it seems to me that it also has that sort of like sitting and bathing in the sapphire light. That yes. Also I was thinking of when you were leading us through.
Well, so funny enough, I was writing about this last week when Moses came down from the mountain. So he's holding the 10 Commandments, and the 10 Commandments are made of sapphire. You can find this in the Midrash. And it says that when Moses came down, he had light coming from his head. Now, there's differing views in the tradition, but basically some say that the 10 Commandments gave off this sapphire light, and Moses' face reflected it back. But there's lots of things in the tradition about... So if there's any gemstone in Judaism that's connected with mystical experience, meditative experience, it's sapphire. So you can take that from me, because I've investigated a lot of stones and a lot of colors in my research. But it's a really big thing. And actually I noticed some of the questions talk about colors. So there's all sorts of colors with significance. It's probably beyond the scope of today to talk about them. But blue has a particularly strong prominence. And one of the reasons that blue is so prominent is because blue is the color of the sky. So that's the kind of cultural reason. Because the heavens are blue, blue sort of takes on this thing. It's interesting that you can look at sources that say wisdom is blue. Don't know why they said it was blue. But it's all connected. And there's a famous quote in the Gemara that there's a blue thread in the tzitzis, the fringes that you wear, and that's because the blue reminds you of the sea, the blue sea, which reminds you of the blue sky. So there is this sort of focus on blue. And to be honest, I think it could have been another color, but it's probably because of the sky that blue was chosen in particular.
So in terms of the meditation itself, and that, a sense of being enveloped by this blue and the protective quality of that, right? It was so soothing. I found it incredibly soothing. I don't know, I imagine others did as well. Is that a meditation that's described in the Sefer? We said it was Sefer Haredim. Is that what you said?
No, that's it from the Sefer Haredim.
Right.
So I've added. He doesn't specify a color.
Okay, but the light basically really being enveloped in that light.
He does describe being enveloped. The thing is, it's very brief, as with most texts. One thing our tradition does tend to lack before very modern times is very, very detailed instructions. So you don't get a script. By the way, if you look in Buddhist texts, of course, you don't really get a script either. Traditional, you don't get a script either. But you often have to kind of read into things. He actually says that he found this thing about the light imagining the light surrounding you in an ancient pamphlet of those Hasidim Rishonim. But as far as I know, no one's found this. He probably embellished that by saying he found, as with everything in the Jewish tradition, if you can't find it, you just sort of say, well, someone said it before, and then you leave it at that. But it's interesting. Someone also asked, have you tried visualizing with different colors? And funnily enough, I haven't. Mainly because this is not one of my main practices. I've got 3 main practices. This isn't actually one of them. On the whole, I do it occasionally, and it's nice. But I would imagine they do have potentially different effects because of our cultural conditioning. And for those who are interested, each of the I think each of the Sephirot has a different light, color associated with it. And by the way, the Sephirot are also light. So at least according to some views. So you can, because of that, each color in the Kabbalistic tradition has its own quality. If I remember, Chesed, love and kindness, is white. I think that's right. Anyway, but there you go. I'm just looking through some of the questions. Is seeing the blue light? There's a question about for those for whom colors and visualization is not necessarily available or challenging. What would you suggest there? Is there? Well, one thing that's very interesting. So if there's anyone who's colorblind, I'd love to ask this, because someone asked in the questions, is seeing the blue light similar to seeing the bluish sparkling aura around trees after meditation? So I can see this kind of aura around basically anything, after particularly around people, actually. I think maybe it's the heats around from the body. But I'm interested if people who are colorblind can use that aura, as in, can you see the vibration of air, for example, as you do with heat? Because I think it's equally, without color, the light is more important than the color, in my view. So light, of course, goes through every spiritual tradition, as a big metaphor for spiritual consciousness, and that probably therefore is more of a big thing than the particular color, and light is spoken about far more in Judaism than blue.
Interesting. Yeah, I do think Chesed is associated with white, and Shekhinah apparently black and blue as well.
Yes. By the way, one thing to bear in mind as well is that sapphire isn't just blue. If you as in physical sapphire, you can find it in black. You can find it colorless, And funny enough, you see this commented on in our tradition. And it's interesting, they speak about blue as the head of colors. So we think that white is the head of colors. So white contains all the colors.
Mhm.
But in some Jewish thought, blue contains all the others. That's part of the big thing about my book, because one of the big things I go to is that the higher level, the greatest consciousness is not the one that kind of denies thoughts or is completely silent, but one that can flow between silence and encompass all things. This is, so I get philosophical for a second, but this is mirrored by this idea that blue light or white light can contain all the colors within itself, but it still has this beautiful oneness and purity to it.
It's beautiful.
Question.
We have one
what's my
more
book about?
Yeah, in 1 minute.
The book
How
is
would you
designed to be
summarize
a synoptic philosophy of Jewish meditation. So it's designed to cover a very, very wide range of subjects, because I found that in Vedanta and Buddhism, and I didn't find that book in Judaism. So if I just, it goes through consciousness and reality, and it goes through everything is divinity, nothingness, silence, stillness, seclusion, asceticism, life, death, meditation techniques, good and evil, compassion, acceptance, gratitude, forgiveness, oneness of action. And it's about, by the way, it's 650 pages. It's huge. So it's designed to be the best primer and source book for any Jewish meditator, but it's very, very wide. The philosophy, the sort of basic philosophy of it would probably take quite a long time to explain, but I have a lecture I can do on that at some point.
We will have to, we're going to have you back, Roland. I think people really enjoyed this session very much. So I really hope you can join us again. We'll look for a date.
Thank you. By the way, do you want to pass my email to people? Because anyone is welcome to email me questions. So it's rolandbrandman@hotmail.com. If hang on, I can put it in the chat. So anyone's welcome to ask me any questions. So it's in the
Brandman,
chat.
MAN, right?
Yeah, I've posted it. There we are. So it's in the chat, and people are free to email me any questions or anything.
Very, very kind of you, Roland. Thank you so much. This was really special. I hope to see you again soon. And there's a lot of overlap between the work of Hamakom, the teachers, and it's wonderful to see this practice flourishing in the world. And it's especially wonderful to connect, with Jews from all the parts of the world. Many of whom I know there are a lot of Hamakom aficionados who join us regularly on this set, and very delighted to introduce people to the amazing work that you're doing and the teachers there. So thank you so much for your work, for your book, and for sharing your practice with us today. Thanks as well so much, Jordan, for holding our space today. Thanks to each of you for being here, and we hope to see you tomorrow to practice with Rabbi Andrew Goldstein. Many blessings, everyone. Thank you, Roland. Be well.